أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، بارئ الخلائق أجمعين، باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه العبد المؤيد والرسول المسدد، حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد، وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين وصحابته المنتجبين. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. قال الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم: يرفع الله الذين آمنوا منكم والذين أوتوا العلم درجات. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. First of all, let me say that I am honored to be here with you today. It's my pleasure and my honor. Although I came from Birmingham, that is where I'm residing for the next several nights, for the 10 nights of Muharram, I'm speaking. And we had to drive for 2 hours, and as soon as I finish, I have to go back again to Birmingham. But it's my pleasure and my honor to be in this beautiful majlis, full of youth that have love for Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and have love for Sayyidah Zainab. A majlis so beautifully organized, with dedication, with ikhlas, with sincerity. I commend you for this beautiful majlis, for those that organized, for those that attended, for those that recited the poetry, the youth lecture, the story, the beautiful Quranic recitation that we heard. MashaAllah, that was one of the most beautiful voices that I've heard. And Ziyarat Ashura. May Allah bless you all. My dear brothers and sisters, what does Imam Hussein want from us? Have you asked yourself this question? What does Imam Hussein alayhi salam want from me now? What would make him happy? How can I make him proud of me? I want to be his soldier. Don't we say, Ya laytana kunna ma'akum? I wish I was with you, Ya Aba Abdullah. Just like Habib ibn Madahir and Abis and Muslim ibn Awsaja and others and others and others that stood by you and they fought. They were so lucky that they were with you in the battlefield and they got to die with you. We wish we were there, but we couldn't. We're not. Because we were born 1,400 years later. We couldn't be with Imam Hussein. But today, we could do something that can make us as equally as important as Habib ibn Mudahir and Muslim ibn Awsaja and Abis ibn Shabib and others that stood by Imam Hussein. So I go back to my question. What does Imam Hussein alayhi salam want from us? What does he want from me? What does he want from you? Well, for each one of us, it's different. For me, it's a bit different because I'm a bit older. So my responsibility of what Imam Hussein wants is a bit different from yours. You know what Imam Hussein wants from you? It's very simple. It's something very easy. You don't have to carry a sword like Habib ibn Mudahir or Ali al-Akbar or Abil Fadl Abbas. You don't have to do anything violent. You don't have to go into the battlefield, but you could support Imam Hussein. I'll tell you what he wants from you. He wants you to get a good education. Get a quality education. In school, be the best that you could be. Don't miss out on your homework. I know right now it's the summer holidays and none of you have school, but schools will start. They will soon start. If you want to make Imam Hussein proud of you and be a good follower of Imam Hussein, when you go back to school, you do the best that you could do in school. You get a quality education. You get the best grades. Who's on top of your class? You have to be on top of your class. If you want to make Imam Hussein proud, you have to be the top of your class, no one else. Don't settle for second and don't settle for third. You be the top of your class. Make sure you study right. When you have exams, you study correctly. When it's time, you see, when it's time for playing, you play. When it's time for studying, you study. We can't mix between the two. We can't play when it's time to study for our exams and do our homework. We have to take our schools seriously. And we have to do very good in school. We have to do very good in school. Be the top of our class. Right now, maybe you're in primary school and elementary school, and then you go to middle school, and then high school. You try to do the best in every grade you're in, so that when they ask your teacher, who's the best in your school? She says this student of mine, right here. This follower of Ahlulbayt, this Shi'i, Imami student of mine, he's the best. Because these Imamis, these Ja'faris, these Shia, they're so good and they're talented in school. That's the sort of reputation we should have. The type of reputation that we should have is that the Shia, their kids, they're the smartest. And they're the best. And that they get the highest grades. It shouldn't be the other way around. If God forbid they say that these Muslim kids, they're the worst. They're so lazy. They don't study. They don't do their homework. They do so poor in their exams. God forbid. Don't let them say this. Then, after that, you aim to go to the best universities here in the UK. Here in the UK, you have the best universities. You have Oxford and Cambridge. There are people that would pay so much money to come to these universities. You have the best universities in the UK. You know, there's youth in Iraq. I live in Iraq. I live in Karbala. There's youth in Iraq. They would do anything to come live in the UK and get an education in the UK, to go to a school in the UK. They'd give anything because they want a good education. They want to be able to go to a good school and learn properly and learn English, something that you already know. So you have a blessing that thousands and thousands would die to have this blessing. They were willing to give anything to have this blessing. Worry about your education. What the Imam wants from you now is that you concentrate on your education, nothing else. You have nothing else to worry about. Don't worry about anything else. Your number one priority now is your education, your grades, how good you do in school, and that you get it accepted in the top schools in this country. In the top schools in this country. And you go to the best universities in this country. Yes. And if we have parents, if we have any parents in the audience, this is to you as well. Encourage your kids to go to the best schools. Don't settle for a mediocre school. Choose the best private schools. If they're Islamic, good. If there's no Islamic school next to you, put your children in the best schools. Even if you don't afford it, go take out a loan. It's worth it. It's your children's education. It's an investment. It's an investment. Put them in the best schools and tell them that they have to do good. That is your priority now. You have to aim high. You have to aim high. And life, life is very short. Life is very short. Look at the pandemic, the coronavirus. Why are many of you wearing masks now? Because there's a pandemic. There's a virus. And this virus, it doesn't know old people, young people, men, women, youth. A lot of people died in this pandemic. We could die at any moment. Life is very short. Make use of it. There's a lot of time to play. There's a lot of time to play, to sleep, to eat, to enjoy your time. But when it's time to study, when it's time to take things seriously, we have to take things seriously. That's what Imam Hussein wants from us. And aim high. Aim high. What is it that you want to be when you grow up? Think to yourself, what do you want to be when you grow up? Aim very high. Here in this country, there's lots of opportunities. Here, there's no discrimination against Muslims or non-Muslims, Iraqis or Pakistanis or Lebanese. No. Here, it's about merit. It's about what you could achieve. So a person that can't get in a good school or has poor grades, they can only blame themselves. They only have themselves to blame. Because here, it's the land of opportunity. You could be the best of the best if you do good and you put the energy and the effort. You could be the best of the best. Or you could be the lowest of the low. It depends on what your ambition is. Be ambitious. You have to be ambitious. Shaykh al-Mufid. Shaykh al-Mufid is one of our top scholars. He lived 1,000 years ago. He has so many books today that we benefit from on fiqh, on usul, on hadith. He's enriched our libraries, Shaykh al-Mufid. We couldn't do it without him. A lot of what we know today about Islam is from Shaykh al-Mufid. One day, Shaykh al-Mufid, who was a huge scholar, everyone knew him. You know, when he died, all of Baghdad came out in the streets to mourn him. Sunnis and Shia, they were crying for him. Even the Sunnis, although he was Shia, even the Sunnis of Baghdad, they came out and they were crying for him. This is how big he was. Huge scholar. He asked his son, he told him, my son, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? He said, Dad, I want to be like you. I want to be a scholar like you, a alim like you. He said, then let me tell you something. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but you're not going to be like me. You're not going to be like me. He said, why? You don't think I have it? He said, no. It's not about that you don't have it. You have to aim high. He said, me, Shaykh al-Mufid, when I was a child, I wanted to be Ja'far ibn Muhammad al-Sadiq. I wanted to be like Imam al-Sadiq, but I didn't become Imam al-Sadiq. I became a Shaykh al-Mufid. You know, when you aim, you could either reach it or just a bit lower. So you have to aim high. Be ambitious from this age. Yes, when you're young. You want to be a doctor? No, don't say I want to be a doctor. Say I want to be the best doctor in England. You want to be an engineer? Don't say I just want to be an engineer. Say I want to be the best engineer in the UK or in Europe. Whatever you want to be, you could be. Because this is a land of opportunity and no one's holding you back. Even if you want to be an athlete, that's fine, you could be an athlete. But be the best athlete possible. Be the best athlete. Be the best that you could be. Imam Ali alayhi salam says, رحم الله عبدا عمل عملا فأتقنه. May God bless the one that does a deed but does it in the best way possible. This is what Islam teaches us. When you do something, don't do it in a mediocre way. When you're holding a majlis like this is a beautiful majlis, do it in the best way possible. When you write your homework, do it in the best way possible. If you're washing dishes, if you want to help your parents at home, you want to help your mother, wash your dishes, wash the dishes better than your mother washes dishes. This is what Islam teaches us. When you do a job, do a fine job. Do a fantastic job. So learning, my dear friends, right now, your job, and for those your age, is to concentrate on your studies, on your learning, on math, on science, history, English, Arabic. And yes, you could do Islamic studies as well. Learn about Islam. Learn about Islam. Today, there's so many books in English on Islam that you could learn from, you could benefit from. Here at Al-Imam al-Khoi Center, you have a library. And there's so many bookstores. And on Amazon, you could purchase any book that you'd like by telling your parents, there's so many books on Islam, on the Imams, on history, on the Quran. Read. Read. I tell a lot of young people this. When you go to sleep, have a book next to you. You have to have a book next to you. And you read for at least 30 minutes before you sleep. At least 30 minutes before you sleep. It's the best thing to do. First of all, it helps you go to sleep. When you read, you get tired and you fall asleep. And be always in the habit of reading. Don't waste any time. Don't waste any time. You're in the car. Here in London, there's a lot of traffic. When you go to your cousin's house, when you come to the majlis, when you go back home, you're in the car, you have plenty of time, have a book with you. Always have a book with you. When you're on a plane, when you're traveling, when you're on a train, even when you're on a vacation with your family, you're on a road trip, whatever it is that you're doing, if you have some extra time, have a book with you. Have a good book, not a comic book, because comic books, they won't do you any good. Have a good book. It could be anything. It could be a story. That's fine. Be in the habit of reading. Always read. Always be in the habit of learning, reading, writing. Write as well. Keep a journal. Be in the habit of writing. This is what Islam teaches us. To concentrate on knowledge. The Quran, the first word that was revealed in the Quran was what? Iqra, read. Do we Muslims read? How many hours a day do we read? We don't read. We don't read. The followers of the religion, that the first word that was revealed to Rasulullah was read. We don't read. We don't read. Unfortunately, we're always on our gadgets, on our iPads, on TikTok, on social media, and we waste our time. Time is very valuable, my dear friends. Time is very, very, very valuable. Let me tell you something. The last time I spoke in this gymnasium, I've spoken here before. If I tell you which year it was, you would be shocked. Why? Because probably 3/4 of the people in this gymnasium right now, they weren't even born. The last time I spoke in this gymnasium was in 2003. In 2003. How many of you were born in 2003? Maybe your mothers and your parents. But I feel like it was yesterday. I feel like it was yesterday. If you ask me, I'll tell you it was maybe a year, 2 years ago. But when I thought about it, I was sitting there and I saw the gymnasium. I said, Subhanallah. In 2003, now it's 2021, 19 years ago. It was in December, the month of Ramadan, December of 2003. But I feel like it was a year ago or 2 years ago. I don't feel like it was 19 years ago. If someone was born in that year, now they're 19 years old. Now they're going to university. Time flies by. Before you know it, time flies by. Make use of your time. And the best thing that you could do in your time is to read and to research and to learn so that you become scholars, so that you become successful. Who wants to make a lot of money? We all want to make a lot of money, right? How can you make a lot of money? You need a good job. How can you get a good job? You need a good education. You need to graduate from a good university and have a good college degree. That requires a lot of work, a little bit of less of playing, and a bit more of studying. We turn off that iPad, we put it aside, and we study a bit more. The harder you work today, you will see the achievements tomorrow, inshallah. Right? This was the job of Imam Hussein as well. We recite in one of his ziyarah, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says about Imam Hussein, لِيَسْتَنْقِذَ عِبَادَكَ مِنَ الْجَهَالَةِ وَحَيْرَةِ الضَّلَالَةِ. The job of Imam Hussein was to wake people up, to teach them that a person like Yazid cannot represent Rasulullah. He cannot be the Khalifa of Rasulullah. He cannot sit on the minbar of Rasulullah. Why? Because he doesn't deserve it. He doesn't have the akhlaq. He doesn't have the morals. He doesn't have the ethics. He is not equipped enough to represent Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He educated people. Because of Imam Hussein, he educated them. This was his job. Why do we attend the majalis of Imam Hussein? To learn about Islam, to learn about our faith, to learn about the school of thought of Ahlulbayt. That's the whole point of coming to the majlis of Abu Abdullah. And you know, here in London, you're blessed. You're blessed. I know some people that have to drive for 2 hours to attend one tiny majlis that maybe 20 people, 30 people attend. You in London, that you live here, you're so blessed. You have tons of majalis from morning till night. From morning till night. At any given hour, there's a majlis happening at any of the surrounding Husseiniyyas. And at night, you have so many majalis to choose from. You have so many majalis to choose from. This is a blessing. There are people that do not have this blessing of attending the majalis of Abu Abdullah. Don't waste these nights. Attend the majlis of Imam Hussein and listen attentively to the majlis. Listen attentively to the lecture. Because the one giving the lecture, they've put in a lot of hours in researching, in writing, in reading to give you a proper majlis, to give you a good lecture. Listen to them attentively. You will learn. You will learn and you'll benefit. And then 10 years from now, you will say, Alhamdulillah, it was these majalis of Abu Abdullah that made me religious. I learned my Islam from these majalis. I have to thank my parents for bringing me to these majalis. I have to thank al-Kisa youth for holding these majalis, because it was from these majalis that I learned about Imam Hussein, and I learned about Islam, and I learned about what is halal and what is haram. Learning. It's all about learning. It's all about, Islam is all about education and knowledge. We have a hadith that says studying for 1 hour is more valuable than worshiping the entire night. If you were to stand and pray the entire night, 6 hours, 7 hours of praying, non-stop praying, but to learn and to study and to think for 1 hour or 30 minutes, it's more valuable. One day Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, he entered his masjid, Masjid al-Nabawi in Medina. He saw two groups. One group, they were worshipping, they were praying, salah, reciting Quran, reciting dua. They were in the state of worship. The other side, they were studying. They had a study circle. They were studying, they were learning, they were discussing knowledge. Rasulullah said both groups are good. Both of these groups are good. But I like this group the most. The one that was studying. The one that was holding a study circle. He said, I was sent for this group. This is my favorite group. The one that studies. Of course, worship is important as well. But learning? What good is salah if I don't understand my salah? What good is my fasting if I don't know why we fast and why we attend the majlis of Abu Abdullah? We have to understand what we do. So that someone asks us, we tell them, this is what we do. This is why I'm wearing black. This is why I cry. It's because Imam Hussein sacrificed his life for Islam. And so we commemorate him every year because it was through his blood and through his sacrifice that Islam was preserved. So we preserve his name as well. Because when we preserve his name, we preserve the name of Imam Hussein as well. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Tonight is the eve of the 6th of Muharram. And traditionally, we remember the As-Haab. The As-Haab of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. The companions of Imam Hussein. Imam Hussein had 72 companions. These companions were very loyal. Some of them were old, some of them were young. One of them, maybe you could relate to, he was 10 years old. He was only 10 years old. He came to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and his sword would drag on the ground. He came and he said, my master Abu Abdullah, allow me to fight. Allow me to enter the battlefield and fight. Imam Hussein said, no, I won't. Why? Because his father had died earlier. His father had died in the battle. Imam Hussein said, I'm sorry, but I won't give you permission to fight. Why? He said, because your mother is already grieving over your father. And now she has to grieve over you? No. The 10-year-old boy, he went. He started crying. And he went. Moments later, his mom brought him. His mom held his hand and she brought him to Aba Abdullah. And she told him, Ya Aba Abdullah, أتثكل بك أمك الزهراء ولا أثكل بولدي? Your mother Fatima, she will mourn you, but I will not have the honor to mourn my son. Give my son the honor to fight. Imam Hussein allowed him. So this child, this 10-year-old youth, he entered the battlefield and he would recite, أميري حسين ونعم الأمير سرور فؤاد البشير النذير علي وفاطمة والدايا فهل تعلمون له من نظير. He entered the battlefield and he fought very bravely. He fought with all courage. He did not back down. Everyone was surprised and shocked at the bravery and courage of this young man, of this 10-year-old boy. He fought so bravely until he fell, until he was heavily injured. He fell and he shouted, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he sent his son Ali al-Akbar to this boy. Imam Ali al-Akbar went to him, he sat next to him. He told him, my brother, do you have a last wish? Do you have any wish to tell me? He said, yes. انقلوا رحل أمي إلى رحالكم. Today my mother will be lonely. Yesterday, our tent, I was there. My father and my mother, we all slept in the same tent. But tonight my mother will be lonely. She will not have anyone to sleep with. Put her in your tent. Ya Ali al-Akbar, have her sleep with your mother. And this child passed away. How many youth that fought with Imam Hussein alayhi salam and sacrificed their life for Aba Abdullah. شبان شبان مثل الورد يزهون حساف على الغبر ينامون. يا شبان بالظلات والنون تفطرون قلبي من تلوجون. ما ادري بعد اهل ايش تريدون. بالامس كانوا معي واليوم قد رحلوا وخلفوا في سويد القلب نيرانا. نذر علي لئن عادوا وإن رجعوا لأزرعن طريق الطف ريحانا. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.